I've always said there's no shame in cutting grass for a living. In fact, I'd go so far as to say it's one of the most honest jobs a man can do. You see what needs to be done, you fire up the mower, and you get to work. No board meetings, no fake smiles, no empty talk. Just sweat, the scent of fresh clippings, and a lawn that looks better than it did when you got there. My name's Rick. I'm just a regular guy, late 30s, broad shoulders, sun-leathered skin, and a pretty decent sense of humor if you catch me on a good day. I own a small lawn care business in a town that barely registers on a map. We're not rich folks around here, but we take pride in what we do. I've got 3 trucks, 6 employees, and one steady schedule that keeps us all fed. My wife's name is Lana. We've been married 8 years. She's pretty, ambitious, and always had a hunger for more than what this town could offer. While I found peace in routine, Lana itched for bigger things. She'd once dreamed of moving to Dallas, starting her own interior design firm, maybe even getting on one of those home makeover shows. But life had other plans, and we stayed put. I built my business from the ground up while she took care of our home and her online side gigs. Now, I'm not saying everything was perfect. We had our spats, like any married couple. She'd get frustrated that I spent more time under lawn mowers than I did under the kitchen light with her. I'd get annoyed that she always compared our life to what she saw on Instagram. But we managed. Until one day, she said something that shook me sideways. "I think you should let my dad take over the business," she said over breakfast, her eyes cool and calculating. I blinked. "Come again? You're always complaining about being tired." He's retired, and he used to run a car dealership. He knows business. He could expand it. I dropped my fork. "Lana, this business is mine. I built it with my own 2 hands. Your dad knows cars, not clippings. And your mom? She thinks hard work is folding laundry." She rolled her eyes. "You're being dramatic. It's just grass." I felt that like a punch. It's my grass. My work. My guys. You want to take all that and hand it to your folks like it's a casserole dish? She crossed her arms. "You're selfish." That conversation didn't end well. And over the next few weeks, things got tense. Real tense. Cold shoulders, clipped words, and dinners eaten in silence. I figured it would blow over, like most of our arguments did, but this time was different. I could feel it in my bones. Then one day, I noticed something strange. One of my newer guys, Toby, started acting smug. Young guy, maybe 25, with arms full of tattoos and a grin that looked like it knew too much. He used to call me boss, but now he just nodded like we were equals. I chalked it up to immaturity. Maybe a little too much confidence. Until I came home early one Thursday afternoon. The house was quiet, too quiet for midday. I walked in through the back door and caught a whiff of something strange. Not food. Not flowers. Just a feeling. Then I saw it. A pair of muddy boots near the hallway. My wife's voice, low and breathy, came from upstairs. And Toby's laugh followed right behind it. I didn't need to go up. I didn't want to. My heart already knew. I sat down at the kitchen table and waited. I don't know how long I sat there. Could have been 5 minutes, could have been 50. When they finally came down, Toby froze. Lana did too, hand on the banister, lips parted like she'd just seen a ghost. She tried to speak. I held up a hand. "I get it," I said quietly. "You wanted to hurt me. Well, congrats." Toby grabbed his boots and left without a word. Lana didn't apologize. Not right away. She just stood there, unsure of what came next. I looked at her and said, "You didn't just cheat on me. You broke everything I trusted." She blinked fast, like she might cry. But I didn't give her the satisfaction. I just walked out and sat on the porch, watching the wind blow across my lawn, freshly mowed just that morning. And even then, with the ache pounding in my chest and my pride torn to shreds, I knew something else too. I wasn't ready to let her go. That night, I slept in the shed. Not because I didn't have a couch or a guest room, Lord knows the house had space, but because I couldn't stomach the idea of hearing her footsteps above me. I didn't want to hear the pipes groan when she turned the shower on. I didn't want to wonder if she was lying in bed thinking about him. About Toby. My employee. A kid I hired and trained and paid every Friday like clockwork. I lay on that old pull-out cot, the one I kept in the shed in case of power outages or tornado warnings, and just stared at the dark wood ceiling. It smelled like gasoline and damp grass clippings, and I almost felt more at home there than I did inside the house now. Come morning, I didn't wait for her to speak. I washed my face with the hose, changed into a clean tee, and headed straight to the shop. The guys noticed something was off. You can't hide a busted-up soul too well when you're running on coffee and 4 hours of sleep. But nobody said a word. Not even Ricky, who usually ran his mouth about everything from the weather to who he'd bet on for Sunday football. Even he just looked at me and handed over the clipboard for the day's schedule without asking a thing. Except Toby, of course. He was gone. Vanished. Didn't show up. Didn't call. Didn't answer texts. Not that I was surprised. Later that day, Lana texted me. "We need to talk." I stared at the message and just put the phone face down in the cup holder. No. Not yet. Instead, I let myself drown in the work. We mowed lawns from sunup to near sundown. I trimmed hedges like they were enemy lines. Edged sidewalks like I was carving borders between what was mine and what was no longer. There was a strange kind of comfort in that hum of machinery, the rhythm of blades spinning and motors growling. At least the grass never lied to me. It just grew, and I cut it. Fair deal. By the time I pulled the last truck back into the yard that evening, my body ached in all the best ways. My heart still felt like a cracked window, but the fresh air helped. When I got back home, Lana was waiting on the porch. She had that look, one I knew too well. The kind where she was both defensive and desperate. She wanted to apologize, but only if she got to control the way it happened. She wanted forgiveness, but she didn't want to ask for it on her knees. "Hey," she said softly. I nodded but didn't sit down. "Can we talk?" "I'm listening." She looked down at her hands like she was trying to rehearse a speech she forgot half of. "I was angry," she started. "You shot down my idea about my dad like I was an idiot. I just wanted to feel like I mattered." "You do matter," I said, calmer than I felt. "But you don't get to screw the lawn guy because you didn't get your way." Her face twitched. "It wasn't like that." "Then how was it?" She didn't answer. I waited. Because if I said another word, I might have broken something. I wanted to prove a point, she finally admitted. That I could still get attention. That I had some kind of power. And I knew it would hurt you. I rubbed my hands over my face. And it did. It really did. "I'm sorry, Rick," she whispered. I'd wanted to hear those words, but now that I had them, they didn't feel like they were enough. Still, they were something. And in our world, something is always better than nothing. "You want to fix this?" I asked. "Yes." "Then you don't get a say in the business anymore." "Not one word. It's mine. I built it." "And your folks?" "They don't come near it. Ever." She nodded quickly. "And you'll quit trying to turn everything into a power struggle. No more testing me. No more getting attention. If you've got something to say, say it. Don't go looking for boys to say it for you. She swallowed hard. Okay. I stepped past her and opened the door. I'm sleeping inside tonight, I said. But we're not okay. Not yet. I know, she whispered. But that night, when I laid down in our bed and stared at the ceiling fan spin above us, I didn't feel hatred. I didn't feel revenge. I just felt tired. She didn't reach for me. I didn't reach for her. Sometimes forgiveness doesn't come in fireworks or big movie moments. Sometimes it just shows up in the quiet, in the space between two people who used to know each other better than anyone else. And I guess, despite it all, a part of me still wanted to believe in her. Things didn't go back to normal overnight. Lana and I tiptoed around each other like strangers who shared a roof and a bed but not much else. The mornings were quiet, too quiet. She used to hum when she made coffee, used to kiss my cheek whether I asked for it or not. Now, she poured a cup and left it by the sink without a word. I drank it out of habit, not gratitude. I'd find her sitting on the porch in the evenings, knees pulled up, eyes distant. I never asked what she was thinking about, but I had a pretty good guess. Guilt looks a certain way on people. Same as regret. You can smell it like burnt toast. I didn't bring up Toby again. I didn't need to. His name was like poison in the house. She'd deleted his contact, blocked him, even took herself off social media altogether. But the damage had already been done. You can't take a sledgehammer to trust and expect to glue it back together without leaving some cracks. As for my crew, I told them Toby quit for personal reasons. Most of the guys just nodded. Ricky gave me a look that said he knew better, but he kept his mouth shut. That's one thing I respected about him. He might have been nosy, but he wasn't stupid. One afternoon, about 2 weeks after everything fell apart, Lana came into the shop. Now that was rare. She never liked the office, said it smelled like oil and sweat. She stood near the doorway, arms crossed, like she wasn't sure if she belonged there anymore. I want to help, she said. I looked up from my paperwork. With what? The business. Not managing it. I get it, I blew that. But maybe, something else. I leaned back in my chair. Like what, Lana? You want to drive the mowers? Clean weed whackers? She smiled a little. I was thinking of starting a client contact log. Organizing jobs, sending reminders, asking for reviews. That kind of stuff. Online stuff. I can do it from home. She'd always been good with computers and digital tools, much better than me. I stared at her for a long moment. You want to help me rebuild the house you tried to burn down? Her eyes dropped. Yes. Because I hate what I did. I hate what I became. I want to earn back your trust, not just say sorry. I tapped my pen against the desk, chewing it over. All right, I said slowly. But if I so much as smell you getting too close to one of my guys again. I won't, she said, quickly and firmly. I swear it. Then we'll try. That's all we can do. So that's how it started. She set up a little workspace in the corner of our living room, laptop, printer, even a mug that said "World's Okayest Assistant" I'd gotten her as a joke a year ago. She dove into organizing client names, payment logs, even reworked the schedule so it was easier to follow. The guys appreciated it, even Ricky said things were smoother now. She never came to job sites, and I didn't invite her. That boundary stayed firm. Meanwhile, I buried myself in the labor. The grass kept growing, the weeds kept coming, and I kept cutting. There was comfort in it, knowing that no matter what else fell apart, that part of life remained predictable. But the nights, those were still rough. I'd lay next to her, feel the warmth of her back against my side, and wonder what she thought about before she fell asleep. Did she regret it because she loved me, or because she got caught? Was she trying to fix us, or just fix her image of herself? I didn't have the answers. But I also didn't have the urge to walk away. And I think that scared me more than anything. One night, I came home to find her sitting on the porch again. This time, there was a candle burning on the table between us. She'd made lemonade, real stuff, not from a bottle, and she handed me a glass without speaking. We sat in silence for a while. Then she said something that stuck with me. "You know, Toby was a mistake. But I've made bigger ones by not appreciating you." I sipped the lemonade. Tart. Cold. Good. "I don't need a speech, Lana," I said. "It's not a speech. It's just the truth. I lost sight of what I had. I got greedy. I wanted more without realizing I already had someone who gave me everything. That one hit me in the ribs. I looked out across the yard, to where the moonlight was hitting the grass. I'd mowed it that morning. It looked clean, crisp. Like a fresh start. "I'm not a perfect man," I said slowly. "But I've been loyal. And I don't forgive easy. But I'm trying." "I know," she whispered. The candle flickered between us. Not a blaze. Not a bonfire. Just a small, steady flame. And for now, that was enough. A month passed. Lana kept her word. She stuck to the admin work like it was sacred. She didn't so much as ask who was on the crew anymore. Didn't show up at the shop, didn't sniff around job sites, didn't even glance at the guys when we bumped into them at the grocery store. She was staying in her lane, and honestly, I respected that. But forgiveness, well, it's like a yard that's been neglected too long. You can cut it down and make it look clean, but the roots, the real mess, is still buried underneath. And if you don't deal with that, it all grows back in time. One Sunday morning, I caught myself watching her. She was in the kitchen, hair pulled back, humming low as she stirred pancake batter. Something simple, domestic, familiar. You'd think that would make me feel better, right? But all I could think about was that morning, weeks ago now, when I'd come home and found her barefoot in the hallway, avoiding my eyes, the bed still warm with someone else's sweat. I blinked, shook my head, and pushed the thought away like a fly buzzing too close. We sat at the table eating those pancakes, and I finally said what had been on my chest since the first night I moved into the shed. "You ever talk to him again?" She didn't pretend not to know who I meant. "No. Not once. He tried texting me. I blocked him. Then he emailed. I deleted it without reading. I haven't looked back." I nodded slowly. "Good. Because if I ever see him again, I don't know if I'll shake his hand or break his nose." Lana put her fork down. "You'd have every right." There it was again, that quiet shame. She didn't cry. Didn't beg. She just sat there, facing it like a grown-up. I respected that too. But even so, the ache hadn't gone. Not fully. Some mornings I still woke up with that tightness in my chest, wondering if this woman, the one making me pancakes, was the same one who rolled around with a kid I'd trusted to help build my dream. I remember telling Ricky about it during a lunch break that week. We were sitting on the back of the truck, splitting a gas station sub. "You're a better man than me," he muttered, wiping his mouth. "If my wife ever pulled that with someone on my payroll, man, they'd both be gone." I gave a half smile. "Thought about it. A lot. So why didn't you?" I thought for a moment, then said, "Because I know what it feels like to be broken. And I know what it looks like when someone's trying to fix what they broke." He nodded, chewing slow. "Still, she's lucky you're soft." "I'm not soft," I said. "I'm just not done trying." That night, Lana surprised me. She handed me a folded sheet of paper. My name was written on the outside in her handwriting, the kind she used when labeling leftovers or writing little notes in my lunch bag back when we were newlyweds. I opened it. Inside was a letter. A real, honest-to-God letter. Written by hand. She apologized again, but this time it was different. She didn't just say, "Sorry." She told me what had been going through her head, what kind of void she'd felt inside. How she mistook frustration for freedom. How she thought hurting me would make her feel powerful, when really it just made her feel empty. At the end, she wrote something that damn near knocked the wind out of me. I betrayed the man who always showed up for me, who never lied, who built a life for us from nothing but grass and grit. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. But I want to earn it every day for the rest of my life, if you'll let me. I folded the letter and slid it into my wallet. Not because I forgave her all the way right then and there. But because it mattered. Because it was the first real sign that she wasn't just patching up a leak, she was rebuilding the foundation. And honestly, that's what I'd needed all along. Not excuses. Not silence. Just the truth. Messy, painful, human truth. That night, for the first time since it all happened, I pulled her close while we slept. Her hand found my chest like it used to, and we lay there, quiet and still, two people trying to grow again in soil that had once been poisoned. But even bad dirt can grow something beautiful, if you care enough to tend it. Fall settled in like an old dog, slow and familiar. The days grew shorter, and the lawns grew slower, but the work never really stopped. Leaves scattered themselves like a bad memory across every yard we serviced. Business wasn't booming, but it was steady enough to keep the machines humming and the gas cans full. Lana was still keeping her promise. She updated the client database weekly, answered calls with a voice like honey, and even started designing a simple website for the business. It wasn't fancy, but it looked sharp, our logo, some fresh photos, and a little, about us, blurb that made it seem like we had our act together. Funny thing is, from the outside looking in, we probably did. But inside me, I was still mowing in circles. See, when you forgive someone, nobody tells you about the aftershocks. That even when you say the words, "I forgive you," your mind still wanders back to the scene of the crime like a bad habit. It's like your heart wants peace, but your brain still wants justice. Some mornings I'd catch myself staring at Lana across the breakfast table and wondering, did she think about him? Did she regret it, or just regret getting caught? And then I'd feel like crap for thinking that, because she was trying. Lord knows she was trying. One afternoon, while I was changing blades on the Hustler mower, Ricky strolled over holding a bottle of Gatorade. He popped the top and leaned against the trailer. "You ever really get past it?" he asked. I didn't look up. Get past what? You know what. Her and Toby. I tightened a bolt. Some days I think I have. Other days, it's like it happened yesterday. Ricky nodded. I hear that. My cousin's wife ran off with his boss. Took the dog, too. He still talks about it like it happened last week, and it's been 6 years. I chuckled dryly. Damn. At least Lana didn't take the dog. He smiled. Yeah, well, forgiveness ain't forgetting, man. It's just choosing not to burn the whole place down. That stuck with me. Choosing not to burn the whole place down. That night, Lana made chili. She didn't ask if I wanted it, she just made it. Like old times. Set the table, poured sweet tea, even sliced up cornbread from scratch. We sat down, and after a few bites, she looked up and said, "You don't have to keep pretending." I froze. Pretending what? That everything's fine. That you're okay. I know you're still hurting. And I want you to be able to talk about it. That hit harder than I expected. I didn't have the words right away, so I just sat there holding a spoonful of beans, staring into the steam. I don't know how to talk about it, I said finally. I still see him in our hallway. I still wonder why you didn't come to me first. Why you didn't just say you were unhappy. Why you had to go there?" She put her spoon down and nodded. "Because I was angry. And selfish. And stupid. I didn't want to fix things, I wanted to punish you for not giving my parents the business. I thought I could teach you a lesson." "Yeah," I said. "You did." She leaned forward. "But I also punished myself. Every day since. I believe that. And maybe that's why I hadn't packed my things. Why I hadn't changed the locks or filed papers or buried myself in another woman like a lesser man might. I didn't want revenge, I wanted truth. And this? This felt honest, even if it still hurt. After dinner, we sat on the porch. It was chilly, but not unbearable. She wrapped herself in a quilt and leaned into my shoulder. "I still love you, you know," she said quietly. "I know," I said. And after a long silence, I added, "I still love you, too." It wasn't some grand romantic moment. There weren't fireworks or music swelling in the background. Just two people, sitting side by side, learning how to breathe again. That night, for the first time since that awful day, I dreamed of us the way we used to be, laughing in the truck, sun on our faces, grass clippings flying behind us as we worked together. It was the first dream in a while that didn't end in a nightmare. December rolled in with frost on the windshield and a silence in the air that felt heavier than usual. The grass had all but stopped growing, and the blades stayed hung on the hooks in the shed. Lawn care slows to a crawl around here in winter, and unless someone wanted leaves hauled off or mulch put down, most of my days were quieter than they'd been in months. Still, I didn't mind the slowdown. It gave me room to think. Reflect. Heal, maybe. Lana kept showing up, not just physically, but emotionally. She started packing my lunch again, always with a note tucked inside, just like she used to when we were first married. Sometimes it was just a heart drawn on a napkin. Other times, it was a real message. "I believe in you. You're stronger than you think. I'm still here." I didn't always know how to respond, but I kept every one of those notes in a little box I found in the attic. Funny how something as small as a scribbled line on paper can be heavier than a hammer when it hits the right part of you. But not everything was healing. There were whispers. You know how small towns are. Word gets around, and folks talk, even when they don't know a damn thing. A few clients had dropped us since the whole thing with Toby. One guy even pulled me aside and said, "Heard your woman's running the business now. She's sleeping with the next guy too." I didn't punch him, but I wanted to. Instead, I looked him dead in the eye and said, "She made a mistake. We're fixing it together." He didn't have much to say after that. Toby, for his part, had vanished. I heard he got hired on with another landscape outfit in the next county over, but I didn't care enough to find out. Let him mow someone else's lawns and lie to someone else's face. As far as I was concerned, he didn't exist anymore. Still, some days, I'd be driving along a back road and spot a truck that looked like mine, or a guy wearing a ball cap just like Toby's, and I'd feel that familiar spark of anger flare up inside me again. It never lasted long, but it reminded me that forgiveness isn't a straight road, it's got turns and potholes, and sometimes you have to slam on the brakes. One particular cold afternoon, I came home early. The sky was gray, heavy with the promise of snow, and the wind had a bite to it. I parked out front and walked up the steps to find Lana on the porch in her coat, her breath fogging the air as she held 2 mugs of coffee. "I had a feeling you'd be home soon," she said, handing me one. We sat side by side on the porch swing, rocking gently as the wind rustled the bare trees. "I've been thinking," she said. "About what I did. About why." I stayed quiet. She wasn't fishing for reassurance, she just needed to speak. "I think I wanted to feel like I mattered," she went on. "Like I could still stir something in someone. It wasn't about love, or even attraction. It was about control." I sipped my coffee, letting the bitterness ground me. I get that, I said finally. I do. But it wasn't just you who needed to feel like they mattered. You knew how much that business meant to me. You knew how hard I worked to build it. I know, she whispered. I was wrong. I looked at her, the woman I married, the one who'd hurt me and stayed anyway. The one who, day after day, was still trying to put the pieces back where they belonged, even if the edges didn't fit the same as they used to. You can't change the past, I said. But we can choose what we do with what's left. She reached for my hand. And I let her take it. The swing creaked gently as we rocked, our fingers laced together, the cold biting at our skin but not our hearts. In the quiet of that December evening, I realized something simple but important. Loving someone after they've hurt you isn't weakness. It's work. Hard, gritty, daily work. But it's worth doing when both of you are still in it. And we were still in it. Together. January froze everything in place, lawns, roads, even time itself, it seemed. Most of our customers went into hibernation until spring. I took on the occasional odd job, cleaning gutters, fixing fences, sharpening mower blades for folks who didn't trust themselves with tools. It wasn't much, but it kept my hands busy. But what really kept me going that month wasn't the work. It was Lana. Our days had slowed down, but something about the cold made our bond feel warmer. We weren't exactly back to how we used to be, there was still a scar between us, but somehow, the rhythm of life had steadied. Even with the damage done, our roots had held. And in some strange way, they were growing deeper under the frost. One morning, I woke up to the smell of cinnamon rolls. I wandered into the kitchen to find Lana with flour on her shirt and icing in her hair. "What's the occasion?" I asked. She turned and smiled. "No occasion. Just thought you deserved something sweet for once." "Is that a joke about my personality?" She chuckled. "Maybe." We sat at the table, laughing over coffee, powdered sugar on our faces. For a second, it felt like year 2 of our marriage, when we didn't have much but each other and a beat-up mower that barely ran. After breakfast, she said she had something to show me. I followed her out to the shed behind the house, the one where I kept all the old tools and retired mower decks. She opened the door and flipped on the light. Inside, hanging on the wall, was a big wooden sign. Willow and Wheeler Lawn Care. Family owned. Rooted in hard work. I stared at it. My name. And hers. "I made it myself," she said softly. "Well, I bought the wood, but I carved the letters. Took me 3 tries. The first one looked like a ransom note. I didn't say anything at first. Just stood there, taking it in. I know I don't deserve your trust overnight," she continued. "But I want to be part of this. Not because of my parents. Not to control it. Just because, this is us. You and me. The life we built." That sign did something to me. I don't know how to explain it, but it was like she finally saw what I saw all those years when I was sweating in the sun, building this business from the ground up. Not just a way to earn a living, but a legacy. A reflection of who I was. Who we were. I stepped forward and ran my hand over the wood. "I love it," I said quietly. "I love you." She swallowed hard. Even after, I said. That night, we made love for the first time in months. It wasn't rushed or desperate. It wasn't about filling a void or masking pain. It was slow, quiet, honest. Like 2 people who had walked through fire and made it to the other side, singed but still standing. Afterward, lying in bed with her head on my chest, I said, "You know, I don't think I'll ever forget what happened. But I also don't think I want to." She looked up at me. "Why not?" "Because it reminded me what love really means. It's not just the good stuff. It's choosing each other, even when it'd be easier to walk away. She didn't say anything. Just kissed my chest and held on tighter. Outside, the wind howled. But inside that little house, we were warm. Wounded, sure. But not broken. Never broken. By the time February rolled around, the days were still short, but the air started to carry a different kind of bite, less bitter, more brisk. Like the earth was just beginning to stir again beneath the frozen ground. The kind of chill that said, "Spring's coming. Hang in there." I took that as a sign. Not just for the business, but for us. After what happened, with Lana, with Toby, with all of it, I had this fear hanging over me that things would stay strained forever. That no matter how many talks we had, or how many late-night coffee porch moments we shared, we'd never truly be what we were. But something changed when she showed me that sign in the shed. It wasn't just wood and paint. It was her saying, "I'm in this with you now, for real." And that mattered more than anything. That same week, I finally brought the sign out to the front yard. Hung it between two cedar posts Lana helped me dig. The wood was still raw and smelled like pine, and the letters stood proud. Folks driving past could see it plain as day, Willow and Wheeler Lawn Care. I got a couple texts from longtime customers that said things like, "About time," and "Love the new name." Even the mayor's wife called, wanting us to redo the flower beds outside City Hall come spring. Guess word got around. Business started to thaw, same as the soil. And Lana, well, she kept surprising me. One afternoon, I came home from a job sharpening trimmer blades, and she had spreadsheets open on the dining table, receipts laid out, her glasses sliding down her nose. "You're organizing our expenses?" I asked, setting down my gloves. She looked up with a smirk. "Trying. You've been buying spark plugs from 3 different places." "I'm consolidating." That was new. Before, Lana never had anything to do with the actual work part of the business. She'd complain about money being tight, but she never once sat down to see where the money was going. Now, she was figuring out supply chains and setting up QuickBooks. We were becoming a real team. And yet, no matter how good things were looking, every now and then, the doubt crept in. Sometimes, I'd be refueling a mower or loading up the truck, and the image of her and Toby would flash in my mind. It'd hit me out of nowhere, like a sucker punch I couldn't block. Even though I'd said I forgave her, even though I meant it, healing didn't work like flipping a switch. She noticed, too. One night while we were folding laundry, she asked, "Do you still think about it?" I didn't have to ask what she meant. "Sometimes," I admitted. "Not like before. But yeah. It pops up." She nodded, didn't flinch. "I do, too." We sat in silence for a bit, the dryer humming low in the background. Then she said, "I think it's okay that it still hurts sometimes." "I think that's part of it." "Part of what?" "Love," she said. "Real love." She reached for my hand again, and this time, I squeezed hers first. Later that week, she asked if she could come with me on a job, just a small hedge trimming and cleanup for an old couple on the west side of town. I almost laughed, picturing her in my oversized work gloves and steel-toe boots. But when she stepped outside in a borrowed flannel and her hair pulled up in a bandana, I didn't laugh. I smiled. She looked like she belonged. We worked side by side that day. She trimmed hedges. I bagged the debris. We talked with the homeowners, who made us sweet tea and called us adorable. We laughed when she accidentally cut a bush into the shape of a mushroom. On the ride home, windows down, hair whipping in the wind, she leaned her head on my shoulder and said, "I think I finally understand why this matters to you." "Why's that?" "Because it's not just lawns. It's trust. It's showing up. Every day." I didn't say anything. I just kept driving, both hands on the wheel, eyes on the road ahead. But in my heart, I knew we were headed somewhere good. Somewhere earned. By the time March rolled in, the first blades of green were peeking through the brown. That's always how it happens out here, quiet and patient. You almost miss it if you're not paying attention. But I was paying attention to everything now. Especially to Lana. The pain didn't vanish like some fairy tale. But it stopped being the thing that defined us. It stopped being the shadow cast over every breakfast and every quiet moment. Because something stronger started to take root: choice. Not convenience. Not obligation. Just the stubborn, daily choice to show up for each other. Spring came early that year, and with it, more work than I could shake a stick at. My phone was lighting up like a 4th of July sparkler: calls, texts, folks knocking on the door asking if we could squeeze them in before Easter. And every time someone said, "You guys," or "Y'all's company," it did something to me. Made me feel proud. Not just for the business I built, but for what we were building now, together. Lana had taken to calling herself the office manager, and let me tell you, she ran that dining room like a Fortune 500 headquarters. Invoices, calls, emails, even social media posts with before and after yard shots. We even got a logo printed on the truck. Nothing fancy. Just a green leaf curled around a pair of blades with the name Willow and Wheeler Lawn Care underneath. One afternoon, we were out at the Jenkins place, big job, 6 acres, front and back. Lana was trimming hedges while I aerated the back lawn. And for the first time since everything had happened, I saw her laughing with one of the neighbors. Not faking it. Not forcing it. Just living. She caught me watching and stuck her tongue out like a goof. I grinned and waved before heading back to work. Later that evening, we sat on the porch with our legs kicked up, sipping sweet tea. The sun was melting behind the trees, casting a gold light over the sign in our front yard. The one she made. "I've been thinking," she said. "That's usually dangerous." She nudged me. "Seriously. I've been thinking about us." I waited, giving her space. "I want to renew our vows," she said. "Not for a big crowd. Just us. Maybe out at the old creek. You remember that place?" I nodded. "The one where you first told me you loved me. And where you dropped your keys in the water," she added with a smirk. I was nervous, I chuckled. Didn't know how to react. She grew quiet then. "I want to do it because I need you to hear me say it again. For real. This time, with nothing hidden." I stared out at the street, at the houses, the lawns we'd worked on together, the life we'd salvaged from wreckage. "All right," I said, squeezing her hand. "But I want to go first." 2 weeks later, we stood at that creek, just the two of us. The same old spot, same soft rustle of leaves. No white dress. No suit. Just jeans, boots, and hearts wide open. And I told her what I should have said a long time ago. That forgiveness isn't a free pass. It's a battle. A choice. And that I chose her, again, and again, and again. She cried when she said her part. I did too. No shame in that. Afterward, we sat on the creek bed, feet dangling over the edge, watching the ripples. "You think we'll ever be fully healed?" she asked. I thought about it. I don't think love's about being healed. I think it's about staying when it hurts. And finding joy anyway. She leaned her head on my shoulder. "Then I think we're doing okay." "Yeah. I think we are."